What is an immigrant? An immigrant is someone that leaves their home country to find a new life in another country. In most cases, they are seeking asylum. We all know someone that is an immigrant, someone that has come to live permanently in our country. While our country was built on immigration, we are not able to support this movement any longer if we want to grow our country and economy. We will focus on the reasons why our country can't support immigration from illegal to legal. Why immigration doesn't work for America anymore. Well, to many, it might seem like our country was built on immigration. Our country was built on hard work and dedication. Our country was built by people that were forced out of their homes and countries, and this is where they were able to find a new life. They worked hard to make this land a home for them and a home for generations to come after them. They created our Constitution, they created our Supreme Courts, they created our entire legal system. They created America. In 1917, the United States Congress enacted the first widely restrictive immigration law. Congress was able to easily pass this law due to the uncertainty of World War I. People were afraid of who was going to come into our country and what was going to happen when they got here. This law paved the way to the 1924 Act. If you're not familiar with the 1924 Act, it's a law that was passed in 1924, and the law basically restricted who was allowed to come into our country and who was not allowed. The law banned all Asians. So what the law did was it controlled who could and couldn't come into our country. There was a list of different countries that were allowed, types of people that were allowed, and countries that weren't allowed. Asia was a continent that was on the banned list, so any country within Asia, people from those countries wouldn't be allowed to come into the United States. This act was actually signed by President Calvin Coolidge. However, there was a flaw in that law. Anyone that lived outside the United States but could prove that they were American in some way were still able to get into the United States. Mostly, this law is mostly created for children that would be born on army bases to parents that live overseas. Since 1924, this law obviously has been changed. There was a very large period of time where anybody was allowed to apply to get access to come into the United States. As we know, with President Trump, that has changed. Since the year 2000, there are more than 1 million legal immigrants that come into our country every year. Around 600,000 of these immigrants have actually changed their status. So what that means is that they could have either applied for extended visas, they could change from a work visa to permanent to live visa, and then there are the ones that would apply to citizenship after they have lived here for 5 years. Also, currently in the United States, we currently have over 12 million illegal immigrants. This is where most people start to have a problem with immigration, is when people come into our country on a temporary visa and then they never renew it and they never leave. So they stay here. That makes them illegal once that visa expires. It's the people that would illegally come into our country from the southern borders. These people are not registered anywhere as citizens of the United States. They're not even registered as people that live in the United States. So they come here, they steal people's identity. They might pay someone else to steal it for them, which essentially you're still stealing. They go ahead and take jobs that most people say Americans don't want. Those jobs end up not being available to Americans because the illegals come in and then they're willing to take a job that I might have to pay someone $11 an hour, but an illegal immigrant is going to come in and say that they're going to do it for $5. And obviously, to save some money, I'm going to go ahead and hire double the illegal immigrants rather than hire one American. Unfortunately, that is a flaw in our legal system. One way to prevent this is we do need to make better laws and more restricted laws towards these companies and these farmers that are agreeing to this. They're a part of the issue as much as the people that come into our country illegally. Nearly half of the 12 million plus illegal aliens in America arrived legally with temporary non-immigrant visas. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that a substantial percentage of Americans' illegal population is made up of visa overstayers. They estimate a range from 27 to 57%. This is from the CIS.org website. Our country and our government, our people are nice enough to let people come into our country to see what it's like to live here, to go to school here, to work for a short time, and then these people take advantage of our system and never leave. And unfortunately, that's not how that works, and they're hurting our economy, they're taking our jobs. Most of these people end up applying for welfare, and because they aren't not making the minimum wage requirements, they get approved for welfare. And we have so many people in our country that are citizens, that work hard, that are families, that are single parents, and these people need these benefits and can't get them because they're going to someone who doesn't truly belong here. Right now, we're not able to control who comes into our country, who stays, how long they stay, and if they left and if they're going to leave. Well, we think we can control these things. We've been proven that we can't. It's time for things to change. We need better laws, new laws, a better system so that our people are not suffering. Recently, President Donald Trump did sign the Executive Order 1376-9. What this is, it's essentially a travel ban. It is a restriction kind of like the one from 1924 that has a set of countries that are not able to even apply to come into our country. Like, most of these countries are Muslim countries. Understandably, after 9/11, we would have citizens and leaders in our government that are going to be worried about who's coming into our country and why they're here. Our president is also currently working on a border wall between America and Mexico. That is how a large portion of our illegal immigrants get into our country. At this point, the issue isn't if someone is legally here or illegally here. The issue is that they are making our country their home. On the website, cato.org, I found several different reasons why people in our country believe that we do need stricter laws against all kinds of immigrants. Some of the main ones are that immigrants are here to take our jobs and hurt our wages. Immigrants are here to use our welfare system. Immigrants are the issue of our government debt. They are also the reason for economic issues like equality. Most of the time, they're not willing to adapt to our culture. They want us to actually adapt to their culture, yet they've come into our country. Another issue is, why should Americans have to learn another language? And if these people are going to come into our country, then they need to learn English. Many people believe that immigrants are the biggest issue in American crime. And as of right now, in 2019, even with the travel ban, America is the easiest country to immigrate to. Something about that tells you that our laws need to be changed. We can't be one of the best countries in the world and also be one of the easiest countries to get access to. In conclusion, immigration has slowly been destroying our country. And if we keep letting others into our country, our home, a country that our ancestors worked so hard to build, we will be inviting crime into our states, into our cities, and our homes. We will be letting these people take our jobs and ruin our wages. We will be allowing them to change our laws and a way of life. My sources were history.state.gov, whitehouse.gov, cato.org, and cis.org.